Recently, I created a promo video for a brand, and in this video, I want to show you my process for working with clients. Now, first of all, I'm going to show you this video. That way you understand the context and fully understand what I'm talking about, and then we'll jump into all my steps that I take in order to make a successful project. So without further ado, let's roll that tape. Now that you understand the context of what I'm talking about, I want to focus on the actual process because I believe the process is just as important as the final video. First of all, how did they find me? They found me through one of my YouTube tutorials on how to create a stop motion video. Now, they probably saw that video and they decided that I had enough expertise to create something of similar quality and value. So they reached out to me, and that's how we first got connected. So once you establish contact, the next step is to determine whether you're a good fit for each other. I would suggest that you ask them a lot of questions. You want to know if you're a good fit for them and if they're a good fit for you. You need to have the ability, but also feel some kind of excitement to create this video for them. Ask them questions. What are their purpose? What are their objectives? What does a successful project look like? And how long do they need it? When do they need it? You want to ask all these questions so you understand the full scope of the project. If you both determine that you might be a good fit for each other, the next step is to write out a proposal. In there, you want to list everything you talked about, the time frame, turnaround time, budget, the rights of usage. Can you use that video to promote yourself? All that stuff, you want to lay it in a contract. You don't want to move forward without a written proposal. Now, to send the proposal, I like to use HoneyBook, which is a CRM, a client relationship management system, or it's a website actually, it's all online. And I attach that document, the proposal, to a HoneyBook, and it sends it to them. Now, when they need to sign it, they can do it on their computer or on their phone, and it comes back to me signed. And you want to get a signed document before you move on. I recommend HoneyBook. It helps me keep track of all emails. I can just log into their website or on my phone. There's an app for it, and I can see all the emails. Instead of having to use my email provider like Gmail, it's easier to track each client based on their own project. So that's why I like HoneyBook. The second reason I like HoneyBook is because the next step is to collect payment. You want to collect a deposit up front. The reason for that is because you want them committed to this project. If there's no money up front, they're more likely to flake. So HoneyBook allows you, you can take credit cards with HoneyBook. You can also take bank payments, and it's pretty neat. It just speeds the flow, and it makes it very easy for a client to interact with you and to keep track of them. Once you have a signed proposal and a deposit up front, then you can start to work. That's when you start to create a storyboard. Now, you don't have to be a great artist. Personally, I'm not very good at drawing. You just have to show that you have a plan for creating this video. I drew up step by step in pencil because I was erasing a lot since I'm not a very good artist. Also because once you're done with that storyboard and you kind of have a layout of how the video is gonna roll, you want to send this storyboard or this script or a shot list or whatever it is to the client so they can understand how the video is going to flow. Now, for the stop motion, there was a process for it, and they gave me revisions. They asked me to change a couple things, which I did, and it was very easy to erase with the pencil. So I redrew some stuff, and again, I send them the second version of the storyboard through HoneyBook, and they signed off on it. They say, yeah, I like the storyboard, move on with it. So first of all, you want to get approval at every step, because if you just start creating whatever's on your mind, they might not like it, and you don't want to have to redraw or start from the beginning and realize that, hey, that's not what they wanted. So always get approval on every step if you can. And if you keep them informed, they feel like you are taking the time to bring their vision to life. Next, you need to gather all the materials you're gonna need. You need to have them laid out in front of you. Now for this project, the client asked for a blue paper background. I had to order that through Savage Paper, and that took about a week and a half to get to me. So that was the only material I had to wait for. So I couldn't start until I got that blue paper from them. So thankfully it was pretty fast, but if this client wanted a really fast turnaround, that would have held back my project, the project timeline or the due date. So make sure you inform or look out for these things that could potentially halt the process. The next step is to do a practice shoot. So the first time I shot my stop motion video, that was just a practice. Now for certain projects, you can't do a practice shoot, but if you can, it's a good idea to kind of rehearse it. I did. I first of all had my storyboard in front of me and I shot every scene, and then I actually did a quick edit and to see what went wrong. And from that, I learned that there were certain things in the storyboard that didn't make sense and I had to change them. And I talked it over with the client. Always keep them informed of what's going on. Hey, this has to change because it doesn't make sense. And from, and it's understandable. Sometimes you look at a paper or a script and you think it's gonna roll that way, but when you're actually shooting it, things change. So maybe that's something you also gotta communicate with your client, that some things may change if, for whatever reason might be. For most projects, you're not gonna get a practice shoot, but you have to practice on your own time. Try to replicate the scenarios you're gonna be dealt with. In this particular video, I had a lot of control to do a practice shoot and then move on to the real shoot. That's where everything went smoother because I had learned from my mistakes. I knew what needed to happen and at what time and how I needed to move the objects. The next step is the editing. That's the fun part for me. That's where you kind of shape the project into what you want it to be. I also had to Photoshop certain things out, like when the wallet is flipping over, I had to use toothpicks and some other things to hold up the wallet, and I had to Photoshop some of those objects out. It's nice to know Photoshop or Lightroom. That way you can remove objects whenever you're doing these kinds of things. Once I was done with the first cut, what I did is I uploaded the first cut to Vimeo and I put a password on it. So that way the client was the only person that could actually look at the video. Now they came back with some minor revisions. I did those revisions. Again, I exported and I uploaded to Vimeo. I put a password on it. They gave me some revisions and finally I gave them the final video through Google Drive. So that is my whole process. For the most part, the idea behind all of this, what I want you to take away is that you have to stay on top of every little step. You have to have a process. You have to guide the client through it, not just go off and create whatever you want on your own and expect them to like whatever you create. If you do that, you're gonna run into trouble. I prefer to keep them informed of everything that's going on, and that's the most important thing. I think to be responsive is very important whenever you're dealing with clients. When you're not responsive, when you're not keeping them in the loop, that's when they start to worry and they start to doubt you. And when you give them that final video, they're more likely to be apprehensive and to have more concerns over what you did. And especially if that final video is different from what you storyboarded or from what you had discussed initially. Let me know if you have any suggestions. Also, if you want to learn about all these things that I use, like the HoneyBook, there'll be a link in the description. If you use that link, I think I get a little discount for the next year because there's a charge for me to use HoneyBook. I highly recommend it. I really love it, and it changed the way I communicate with people, and it makes you look more like a professional because it's everything. It's under one place. You take contracts, they can sign it. You can take payments. You email through that program, so it just stream flows the whole thing. So yeah, please use that. It's not gonna charge you extra. Actually, you get a little discount, so check that out in the description. Guys, that does it for today's video. Subscribe if you haven't already done so, liked it, and as always, I'll catch you on the next one.